Alrighty, guys. Hello. Thank you for joining us here on Pop Culture Feminists. I am one of your hosts, Scout.
And I am your other host, Lily.
So glad y'all are joining us today. We are talking about celebrity chefs. Female celebrity chefs, of course, because
Yes.
pop culture feminism.
Yes.
That's where we're at.
We talk about ladies.
We do. We are ladies. We
We
like ladies. We talk about ladies.
Cool. Ladies. Ladies.
Oh my gosh. We have to stop.
I can't stop, won't stop.
Oh my goodness. Alrighty, y'all. So let's just dive right in with a little Rachael Ray. Because she is, the second we decided we were talking about celebrity chefs, I said Rachael Ray.
Mhm.
Because she is just the front of my mind. I feel like she's the front of everybody's mind when it comes to female celebrity chefs.
Yep.
So, this kind of reminds me of the show we did a few weeks ago about female TV icons,
Yes.
just because we're running down through their little biographies and talking about how they got their starts. And a lot of these are really interesting stories. Not a lot of them started as chefs.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them kind of came to that later in life.
Mm-hmm. Before we start, maybe, I just wanted to say, I don't know, the reason that I thought about doing this episode was because I feel like culturally we assume a lot about cooking being a female responsibility in the private sphere, but when you get into the public sphere and the professional chefs, you don't see a lot of female professional chefs.
Right, it's
still
usually
very much,
men.
yeah, it's still very much a male-dominated profession, which I think is really interesting. So that's kind of where my thought process was when I was trying to talk about this. And you might notice it's kind of hard to find a lot of really, really famous female celebrity chefs. Like if you say male celebrity chef, I mean Gordon Ramsay is what you think of off the bat. And
Absolutely.
a bunch of others, but yeah, that's why I kind of wanted to call attention to some great ladies out there.
'Cause, yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think if you imagine a chef, you imagine a French guy standing in a big white hat.
Yeah, it's interesting the image that you get when you say cook versus chef, I think. Because I think when you say cook, you might be more likely to see a woman, and chef, you might be more likely to see a man. Or maybe even for cook, you see a man.
Yeah, no, I
don't know. When I say cook, I think like a cafeteria lady.
I'll see when I hear cafeteria lady.
You think lady?
I do, believe it or not.
Obviously. Yeah.
No, when I hear cook, actually, believe it or not, I kind of think of like Western movies and like the trail cook, but that's just a totally me thing, I think. I watch a lot of Westerns. So I think like chili and...
Ooh, chili.
Chili. Why did we do a show about food? I'm just going to be hungry the whole time.
I know.
All right. Back to Rachael Ray, y'all. So she actually did grow up around food. I don't know if y'all are familiar with this story.
Didn't we all?
Ho. I mean in a professional context.
But
her mother was a manager of a large group of New York restaurants. So she had a lot of exposure to fancy semi-fancy to fancy restaurants growing up.
Right.
And oh, by the way, I noticed this in a couple of these stories.
Yeah.
There's a lot of maternal connections around these industries, like in these particular stories that we're talking about, which I thought was super cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So Rachael Ray grew up around her mother being a New York restaurant manager. So this one, she really did kind of always stay around food, because then she went on to work at the candy counter at Macy's. And it's kind of funny because they tried to promote her into in the accessories department, but she was going to have a better paying job, and she was like, I want to work with food. So she quit, and she went to work at a specialty food store, And then she became a pub manager, which I thought was pretty cool because, you know, you kind of... It's nice to think of Rachael Ray as just like a local pub manager. I don't know why that is such a pleasant thought for me. But then she became a buyer at a gourmet market, so, you know, she finds the best pieces of said market. But she said that as she was around this market, she ran into a lot of people who wanted restaurant quality meals but really hated all the time that it took to cook them. So she started teaching just informally these little classes around this market of meals you can prepare in 30 minutes or less.
Right.
Which, as we probably all know, that's kind of her signifier
right.
in the professional world is
That's
she
her
does
thing.
the 30 minutes or less.
Right.
Anyway, so she started really informally just teaching these people, you know, they were saying, oh, I don't want to cook. And she said, oh, well, you know, it doesn't take that much time. I can show you. And basically a local news station caught wind of her little classes and they reported on them, and then they asked her to come do a weekly segment on their local news show for cooking. And, I mean, that's pretty much that. She became a little, you know, more locally famous, and then she published a book, cookbook, which then caught Food Network's attention. And that's where I guess the rest is really history, 'cause that's where she beat. Yeah, so at age 33, she got her Food Network contract. That was in 2001.
Wow.
I know, she was only 33.
Wow, she's what? She's like 50-something now?
Yeah, 50 exactly,
Wow.
or 51, something like that.
Weird.
I know.
She doesn't seem like she's 50 to
Oh,
me,
yeah.
but-
Oh, absolutely not. She's such a youngin'.
The cooking keeps her youthful.
Yes, it does. I thought it was kind of sweet. She's really a humble lady. 'Cause, I guess people have criticized her for, you know, not having any formal training.
Right.
And she always comes back with, you know, yeah, I'm not a chef. I'm underqualified for all of these jobs that I have. You know, I just got lucky.
Right.
Which I think is so cute. I also like that she says she doesn't believe in proper measuring because it takes the fun and creativity out of cooking.
That's funny.
So she prefers to do things like half of a palmful or a pinch, which that's my style of cooking. I'm all about that. So she credits a lot of her love of food, not only to her parents, but also her ancestry, her heritage, because she has some Sicilian, so Italian heritage on one side, and she has Cajun heritage on the other.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I can absolutely see that. What a beautiful mix.
Yes.
But as the name of the show is, it's Pop Culture Feminists, so pop culture and feminism. So I want to talk about this little story where it's a very small story, so no worries, this is not some long tirade. But basically she posed in a men's magazine. Oh, what is it called? FHM? Something like that. It's a men's magazine. It's known for being kind of, you know, Playboy Maxim-esque. And even though she didn't pose nude in it, although they do have nude posers, like she didn't pose nude, a lot of people came at her for that. You know, they were like, wow, how dare you, and called her all sorts of derogatory names. It's awful. Even her mother, her mother came out and was like, I'm ashamed.
Wow, jeez.
Yeah, I know, right?
Mhm.
But gotta love Rachael Ray.
Yes.
Feminist icon. Well, not in a well-known sense, but
No.
even after her mom told her she was ashamed in public,
Yeah.
she went on a talk show. I don't remember which one, unfortunately. And she says, I'd do it again tomorrow. Don't question my choices. I do what I want to do.
Yeah. Good
So
for her.
bless up Rachael Ray.
Yes.
Alrighty, well, that's almost all I had on Rachael Ray, really. I kind of want to talk about, she also has a really sweet charity. It's not kind of the charity that we normally think of, you know. We think of, I don't know. I don't know what you think of, but I don't normally think of in-home food-based charities that aren't, like, giving food to people.
Right.
She just, like, empowers families to cook together by, like, making recipe books for them and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know. I thought that was awesome.
Mhm.
Anyway, it's called Yum-O, which is a little bit of a weird name, but
Yummo.
Yum-O. Yes, okay.
That's a mood, though.
Well, yes, okay. That's all I had on Rachael Ray. Lily, did you have a chef that you wanted to talk about? I mean, I know you have several, but
Yes. I mean, maybe I should roll right into another Food Network person.
absolutely.
And another person who grew up around food as a child, well, in a sense. And that is Alex Guarnaschelli, which I believe is how you pronounce that last name.
We're gonna hope.
Yeah. And you might know Alex Guarnaschelli, or you might not know that you know Alex Guarnaschelli. I don't know if everyone watches as much Food Network as I did or enjoy. But she is a television personality on Food Network. She's been on Chopped Judge is where you most likely know her from. She's been on Iron Chef America.
Wow.
She's been The Best Thing I Ever Ate. She's on that show routinely. She also hosts Alex's Day Off and The Cooking Loft on Food Network and The Cooking Channel. And in 2012, she won a season of Iron Chef America, so that's cool. And she actually, as a child, her parents were both cookbook editors, or her mother was, at least, if I'm reading this correctly. Maria Guarnaschelli was a cookbook editor. So
Wonderful.
I find that interesting, to where it's not like your parents were chefs and had a restaurant, and so you grew up in a restaurant cooking and whatever, but it kind of a different kind of
Right.
branch
It's
into
still
it. I think it's interesting.
It's definitely an exposure that most people would not get. A very unique one.
Yeah, she said her culinary experience started watching her mother test recipes at home while she was editing those cookbooks. So that's
fun.
Really cool. She graduated from Barnard College in 1991. So that's not a culinary school as far as I know.
No, I don't believe so.
I
I know a lot of these people have degrees in some random stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't say what she has a degree in, but
Right, it's probably not a
yeah.
culinary degree.
Yeah, I think there's this perception that you have to go to culinary school in order to be like a high-end chef, which isn't necessarily. It's a little bit elitist.
Rachael Ray did not, and
Yeah.
someone else we're going to talk about later.
I'm sure a lot.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
goodness. I don't really remember who I was trying to talk about. I'll come up with it later. Somebody else that we're talking about did not go to any sort of culinary school.
Mm-hmm. She worked under a lot of really famous chefs or male chefs, of course, but Larry Forgione, I believe, Guy Savoy, Daniel Boulud, Joachim Spilchal, and then she became an executive chef herself at Butter.
Wow.
Called Butter in New York, I think it is. Yeah, New York City. And so yeah, an accomplished female executive chef.
Absolutely.
Before she went on television, before she went on Food Network.
Oh, speaking of, sorry, I'm going to toss back to Rachael Ray just for a second here,
Yes.
because I wanted to mention this blew my mind. Not only does she have a daily talk show,
Mm-hmm.
but she has 3 other shows that at least at one point were all going at the same time.
Wow. Yeah.
And I'm thinking, when does she sleep?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Woo!
So, you might know this about Food Network, but there's a lot of competitions on Food Network, and she has not done too shabby on those. In 2007, she took on Cat Cora in Iron Chef America. Cat Cora won that challenge, but still an honor.
Still.
She what else
I didn't plan anything about Cat Cora, actually. I know. Maybe we can still,
yeah,
we'll get there.
Cat Cora also a
very famous
yes. Female chef. She appeared on Food Network's Beat Bobby Flay, and she beat Bobby Flay, which is not an easy thing to do.
Oh, absolutely not.
But
Speaking of male chefs that come to mind whenever you say chef.
Bobby Flay.
Mm-hmm.
But not really as famous as I would say Rachael Ray is, but just a very solid and I think well-known face. I think even if you don't know her by name, if I showed you her face and you're a Food Network viewer, even a casual one, you would probably know who I'm talking about. So,
Coolio. All right. We're going to go one last person before we go to another music break. Let's talk about the one, the only, Julia Child.
Hooray.
Julia Child, born in 1912 and unfortunately deceased in 2004.
All right.
Is one of the most groundbreaking chefs in America, female chefs in America.
Mm-hmm.
You probably know her from her book, Mastering the Art of French Cooking, or her TV show, The French Chef. Just to be clear, she is American. She only lived in France for a little while, but she became completely enamored with their food, and that just became her signifier, much like Rachael Ray and her 30-minute meals. French cooking was Julia Child's thing. But Julia Child, not always... Speaking of someone who did not grow up around food, it wasn't until after she was married that she had any sort of exposure to, like, fine foods or cooking.
Right. Yeah.
Crazy, you know, because, like I said, that she is Julia Child.
Yeah.
The female chef.
Mm-hmm.
The female chef.
Beefy.
Had no exposure to food or cooking or anything before she was married. Absolutely wild to me. So let's talk about her. Her mother was some sort of company heiress. I think it was a paper company or a printing company. So she had money. She definitely was doing all right in that department.
Mm-hmm.
She went to a boarding school, and then she went to Smith College, where, as we were just talking about, she majored in history. So,
yep,
you know, completely unrelated because she had no interest in food at this time. She worked as a copywriter at an ad department. And then, okay, this is where her story gets so interesting. The war broke out, World War II, and she tried to sign up to be a soldier or in the Navy, but she was too tall.
Oh my gosh.
Like, this is a time where they had women's sections and they were openly accepting women.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't want her because she was too tall.
That's wild.
I know. Okay, what? Excuse me, what?
They're intimidated.
I know, right? That's what I was thinking. Intimidate the enemy. But no, sadly not. So she became a typist for the Office of Strategic Services. But because of her skill level, they quickly removed her from typist to top secret researcher. Working, I was not even joking, Julia Child, y'all. Top secret researcher during World War II, working directly with the head of the Strategic Services Office.
Wow.
I know. She had a lot of different military positions after that. In 1944, she got posted in what we now know as Sri Lanka, which was, I think, Ceylon at the time.
Right.
And then after a few years in Sri Lanka, she got moved to China, which is where she met her husband, actually. And so she met her husband in China. They got married. And the war ended. Yay.
Yay.
Woo. Allies. Sorry. I don't know the proper way to celebrate the end of World War II in a casual way.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yay.
Anyway, so then her husband introduced her to fine food because he had lived in France for quite some time. He, as an artist and a poet, he has a very free spirit. And I swear to you, Wikipedia said that he was known for his palate. So he really knew his food.
Yeah, he knew what he was talking about.
Yeah, so he introduced her to fine food, particularly French food, and she just sparked. She blossomed.
Mm-hmm.
So she went to study at Le Cordon Bleu.
Yeah.
And then she studied privately under a few master chefs, just like you were saying about Alex. Most notably Max Bougnard, but others as well. Anyway, so during this time was when she joined some sort of female French cooking club in France, which was really interesting. I don't know why I found that so terribly interesting. There's just like a casual cooking club. And she met up with these two other ladies who were trying to write a French cookbook to sell in America, but they thought bringing on an American would really help us,
yeah,
you know, make it appeal to the American audiences better.
Right.
And so they brought Julia Child on and they tried to publish this book. It actually got rejected at first, which, those people must have been sick.
Yeah, later,
because
being like, oh man.
Hello, this book was published in the late 40s, I believe, and it's still being continuously printed today.
Yeah.
So, yikes. I don't remember which it was a major publishing company too. I mean, so they're doing all right, but like
ouch.
That's pretty rough.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then she went on a book review show after it got published and became fairly popular, and they had her do a little demo, a cooking demo, even though it's a book review show. That's not a normal thing, of just how to make a quick omelet. And the audience loved it so much that she was picked up to do her show, The French Chef, which ran for 10 years from 63 to 73. So, and then of course she went on to do many other things as well. A little more pop culture-y part of this. Well, first of all, there's a rap about her. Oh, I'll have to go back in. I'll tell you all after the music break who the rap is by because it was pretty funny. But I was going to talk about Julie and Julia, the movie.
Right.
Well, actually, before it was a movie, it was a book. And before it was a book, it was just a blog.
Just a thing that happened.
Yeah. So if y'all aren't familiar, it was just this lady named Julia. Last name, I don't know. Sorry. Only mildly important to the story. Who decided that she wanted to go through the entire Mastering the Art of French Cooking in 1 year, which it's a big book, y'all.
Yeah.
Very huge. And so she did a little blog about it, and she tried to get Julia Childs to endorse it, and that didn't go over very well.
No.
Julia Child was not interested. She thought it was stunty.
Oh, yeah.
Like just a huge publicity stunt, and she didn't think that. She basically thought of it as a joke.
Wow.
And she didn't want to endorse it. She also, I guess, in the blog, like part of it was that she was, the woman was laughing about, she kept messing up things while she was cooking, and so she would curse, and it was funny. She was trying to be like open, but Julia Child didn't think that was very classy. So yeah, that was a whole thing. Anyway, but it turned into a book, and then it turned into a movie. They kept that same story in the movie, by the way. I saw that movie.
Yeah.
They have Meryl Streep playing Julia Child, and she calls up the woman who plays Julie and is like, "You should stop." Really kind of a rough ending there, but anyway, that's your little pop culture dose for Julia Child. And before we go into some music, I'm going to let y'all know the trivia question of the week.
Yay!
Woot woot! Which is, what product that is still in use today did Julia Child invent while she was in the military? Answer when we come back. Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Today we are talking about female celebrity chefs. If y'all are just joining us, we are the Pop Culture Feminists. I am your host, Scout.
And I'm your other host, Lily.
Yay!
Yay!
As always, you can listen to us here in the Union, or you
Just
can
come sit outside the booth
for
and look
2 hours. Do it.
It's fun.
You can listen to us via the TuneIn app if you find Studio U, which is the name of this radio station if you're not familiar.
Yes.
Or you can join us on our Facebook live stream, Pop Culture Feminists. Just search us on Facebook.
Or in the future, you can catch it on YouTube.
Oh, that's true. We'll also be on YouTube but you can find that link on our Facebook page.
Later.
Yes. Yay! Okay. So, we have already talked about Rachael Ray, Julia Child, and Alex
Guarnaschelli.
Long last name. Sorry about
Alex
that.
long last name.
Yeah. My bad. A really long, interesting last name. All right. So, Lily, you want to take the first chef of this go around? Oh, wait, no, before we do that.
Apparently not.
I asked y'all a trivia question when we left, and I haven't answered it yet. As is my go-to habit of every week. I ask you a trivia question, and then I answer it much later than I mean to. But I'm going to do it this time. So the question, for those of you just joining us, was, what product still in use today did Julia Child invent while she was in the military? Anybody?
There's no one here but me, but all right.
I know. The answer is shark repellent. Military grade shark repellent. No, that's not a joke. I mentioned earlier that she worked in a top secret research position. It involved bombs on submarines, and they had a problem of sharks. Sharks kept setting off the explosives before they were meant to be set off, and obviously that was a problem.
Well, yeah.
It hurt people, it was a waste of money, and all sorts of things. So they needed a shark repellent, and they had been trying and trying. And so they kind of suddenly just asked her, because she was just there. They said, what would you do? This was actually her first foray into cooking really ever. Because what happened was she just started concocting things, cooking things up together, and they tested it by like sprinkling it in the water outside the boats. And then they found something that worked. And so
amazing.
They still use that same general recipe to this day for military grade shark repellent.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Thanks, Julia Child.
Yes, thanks.
Okay.
Now we can get rid of sharks.
Now, Lily, you may take the first chef of this block.
Okay. Well, actually, I'm going to do two right now.
Oh, great. Sounds
because
good.
they have kind of a connection. Not like a literal connection, but a conceptual connection, I guess you would say. And the first of these chefs is Burrell. Another Food Network personality. Yep. She's an American chef, TV personality, and she is also an instructor at the Institute of Culinary Education. Well, or she was until 2007. Yeah, she's appeared on multiple Food Network shows.
Cool.
Much like Alex Guarnaschelli.
Oh,
and,
yes. And Rachael Ray.
And Rachael Ray, and many others. She was a sous chef on Iron Chef America. She is... Oh my gosh, sorry. My brain is not working that quickly today. She's the host of the Food Network show Secrets of a Restaurant Chef, and she's a co-host of Worst Cooks in America, which is a great show. I love that show. So she also hosted the series Chef Wanted with Anne Burrell, which her name's in the title, so I would hope so.
I would hope so too.
She won the Chopped All-Stars tournament, which I guess was a charity event. She won $75,000 for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. So that's great.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
In fact, it's wonderful.
She is one of those who went to college first and not culinary school.
Sure.
She went to Canisius College in Buffalo. And she graduated with a BA in English and Communication in 1991. Something that does not have anything to do with cooking, but I would argue has something to do with being a TV personality.
Oh, absolutely.
After she did that, she enrolled at the Culinary Institute of America and graduated in 1996 when I was born. That's not really relevant, but it's
interesting information. Our audience wants to know us too, Lily.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I guess I don't want to say most notable thing about her, but a notable thing about her is that she is a lesbian.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Sorry, I gotta cheer.
And she is in a relationship, or at least was, with Chef Corin Grieveson. So that's cool. She's dating another chef.
That actually, I feel like that'd be hard to do.
What? Date another chef?
Well, yeah, don't just
True.
Date someone who does the exact same thing that you do.
Yeah.
Especially if one of you is a huge TV personality and the other one is maybe not.
Maybe. Well, yeah.
So, I mean, although maybe her partner doesn't want the limelight. I don't know. To each their own.
Probably. She is also, or she was also, an executive chef at various restaurants in New York City. She opened a restaurant of her own in spring of 2017, though unfortunately that restaurant has closed.
That is
since
unfortunate.
then. But I feel like that happens. Restaurants open and close.
It does.
She still has
it
Food
does
Network.
in fact happen.
It does in fact happen. Did you know that restaurants close sometimes?
I had never heard of such a thing. Disrespectful.
But yeah, I feel like, I don't know, maybe she was more in the limelight a few years ago than she is now, but, another...
I talked about Julia Child, who, is passed away, so it's fine. That's all good.
But the other chef that I wanted to talk about...
Who is connected
in a way, and who we mentioned in the last block, is Kat Cora.
Oh, yes, we did. We did talk about Kat. Well, we mentioned her.
Mm-hmm.
Precisely.
Yep. Kat Cora is actually one of the ones who did grow up with a family that were restaurateurs. Her father and her grandfather were both restaurateurs, and they're of Greek descent, so I think Greek restaurants. And actually, when she was 15, she brought a business plan for a restaurant to her father and grandfather.
Wowie.
Knowing that they could help her.
That explains
15.
how she became such a phenomenon of a chef.
Yeah.
Wow. there are people like that, and you just have to go,
wow. Yeah.
I don't know how you do it, man. I
No.
just don't know.
People who have that much drive and commitment that young in life is
Absurd.
and they're
in
still
a wonderful
doing the
way.
same thing. Yeah. She earned a Bachelor of Science degree in exercise physiology and biology from the University of Southern Mississippi.
I can see how that would be
Related.
sort
Mhm.
of.
And then she enrolled in the Culinary Institute of America, much like Anne Burrell, but that's not the connection. I'll get to that later. She was a co-host of the Food Network show Kitchen Accomplished. I don't think I've actually heard of that one, but I believe
Me
it.
neither.
And of
Sounds
course,
wonderful.
She's also an Iron Chef, or she was an Iron Chef and regularly competed against people on Iron Chef America. She's an executive chef for Bon Appetit magazine, which I think is one of the most famous food magazines in existence. And she's a UNICEF spokesperson.
Ooh, wonderful.
So that's excellent. She has various restaurants in airports, which I think is interesting.
That is kind of
I
interesting.
mean, you get that sometimes. Like Wolfgang Puck and Bobby Flay, I think, also have restaurants like that in airports. So
Huh. I don't think I'm in airports often enough.
It's
All
true.
I know about airport
mhm.
restaurants is that they're typically very expensive,
True.
regardless of food quality.
Regardless of whose name's on it. She also operated Casina by Cat Cora at Disney's Boardwalk Resort in Orlando, Florida.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. She had a restaurant and an aquarium in Singapore. So that's interesting.
Did you say
And-
restaurant and aquarium?
Yeah, a restaurant at an aquarium. It was also an aquarium and a restaurant, but there was a restaurant in the aquarium.
Oh, well,
So I guess technically
It's still
the restaurant is also an aquarium.
that's still interesting.
You put enough fish tanks in there and
I know a lot of restaurants that
Mhm.
might qualify as aquariums.
she's also the co-host of Around the World in 80 Plates, which is an excellent name for a cooking
I
show.
have heard of that one at least. Thank goodness.
Mhm. And a co-host of My Kitchen Rules, which was on Fox. And getting into her personal life, here is the connection to Anne Burrell. Cat Cora is also a lesbian, or bisexual, it doesn't say, but I think a lesbian. She married her longtime partner, Jennifer, in 2013. They divorced in 2015 after they were together for 17 years.
Wow.
And they had 4 sons together through in vitro. So they have 4 children, but they did divorce. And she remarried producer Nicole, I can't say that. Nicole. I can't say her last name, but Nicole. And they got married in 2018. So
Was that the
earlier this
connection?
year, yes, that they are both lesbians.
Wonderful.
Which, I wanted to talk about some cool female lesbian chefs
Yeah, I mean,
that are on Food Network.
very similar, very
And
related.
who went to the Culinary Institute of America.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. They are extremely related.
Yeah, except not at all.
Well, yeah, whatever.
This
Same
show's all about
difference.
finding connection. You gotta bridge some gaps.
Oh, speaking of, okay, so I'm also going to do a quick little pair of chefs related
Wow.
by one
By one thread.
thin thread.
We're just jumping from vine to vine here.
And
Bear
I'm
with us.
pretty sure y'all will be able to guess the thread if you're immersed in today's pop culture. The second I say the first name without even hearing the second one, which is, I want to talk about Mary Berry.
Yes.
Ooh. Her name is actually Mary Hunnings.
Mm.
Berry is her maiden name, but she still uses that professionally, and I can understand
Big
why. It's
mood.
extremely catchy.
It really is. It's
mean,
a really good name.
It is. Her parents, they were like, our last name is Berry. We have to name our child Mary. How smart.
It's terrific.
I know. So I want to start off with a little stat about Mary Berry, in that she has published more than 75 cookbooks.
Wow.
More than 75. Absurdity.
That is absurd.
I mean, I know she's in her 80s, but still.
That's like...
That's a lot of
that
books.
would be like one a year since she was 5, which is not how it worked out.
No, absolutely
so that
not.
means multiple every single year.
Oh, for sure. And I'm not saying all of these are full-fledged, like, books, but they're all separate individual things that have been edited and picked up by publishers, and wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, she came from some not so humble beginnings. Much like Julia Child, parents had some money. Her father helped establish the University of Bath.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? Hello.
That's crazy.
So Mary Berry's struggle that she had to overcome was that when she was 13 years old, she was diagnosed with polio.
Oh, wow.
Which is a very serious disease.
Yeah.
She had to spend 3 months in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And then, unrelated, 2 days after she got out of the hospital, she also got into a very serious car wreck, and then she had to have surgery. Absurdity.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's my word of the day, apparently.
That stinks.
Yeah, I know. But she's all right now, obviously. She works. Yeah. But how she got into cooking was that basically she didn't really like school very much because apparently she didn't feel like she was very good at it. Her grades were not good.
Big mood.
College, am I right?
Yes.
Whoa. So she finally got into whatever they call home ec classes across the pond.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was domestic science. Same difference. And her teacher, Miss Date, spotted that she was a really talented when it came to the cooking portion of the class. And so she really encouraged her to keep cooking. And I mean, that's pretty much how it started out. She went to college for catering and institutional management. So basically it sounded like she was planning on starting a catering business. Then she got a job at the Dutch Dairy Bureau.
Oh my gosh.
Wait.
What?
Okay, it actually got crazy. Several of her other jobs were like, okay, so I know I've seen those commercials in America about the pork association or whatever. You've seen those, right?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, there's commercials that are like eat pork, basically, because apparently America has a pork
We're not eating
council,
enough pork.
like a national pork council, and they make commercials. But I was laughing when I was reading about Mary Berry because not only did she work for the Dutch Dairy Bureau, she also worked for an egg.
She worked for an egg
council.
An egg.
A national
Okay.
egg council,
Yeah.
basically like eat more eggs. And then she also worked for, this one got me the most, a flour
Oh my god.
council, like baking flour.
I'm sensing a thread of things that are used in baking.
I know, but it was just
Drink more milk, eat more eggs, use more flour.
it was very
it.
funny to me. Anyway, so but while she was working at the Dutch Dairy Bureau, she it was very sketchy on some details here. It kind of sounded like she was like, I really need to go to Le Cordon Bleu if I'm going to be helpful to this company, this Dutch Dairy Bureau. And so basically it sounded like she kind of coerced the manager into paying for it for her.
Oh my gosh.
So he paid for, or the company paid for Le Cordon Bleu.
That's
And as soon as
rad.
she finished her courses there, she quit
Oh
the
my
Dutch
god.
Dairy Bureau.
That's a mood.
Yeah, that really is a mood,
Get
honestly.
It, girl.
So then she began working as a recipe tester, and during that time, she started writing her first of the more than 75
Yes.
cookbooks. She became the food editor of the Ideal Home magazine. And then in 1970, she published her first book. So, let's see, 1970 to 2018, that's 48 years to do more than 75 cookbooks.
Wow.
Wow, indeed. Anyway, then, this is what I was saying. There's another kind of maternal connection here. She launched a product line with her daughter. Like, they
Aw.
became co-owners of this product line business, which I thought was really cool.
Cute.
Anyway, and then, of course, where this is all leading is that she does the Great British Bake Off from 2010 to 2016. In 2014,
Mary.
I know, we do miss you, Mary, but she has her own solo show that she started in 2014 called Mary
Right.
Berry Cooks.
She does.
So we can catch her there.
Yep.
Anyway, so if you weren't sure what the thread was, it's the Great British Bake Off, baking show.
Baking show.
Well, Great British Bake Off, I think, is the current one.
Yes.
The Great British Baking Show was the same show, but quite a while ago.
Yes.
Anyway, so our other chef that I wanted to talk about is Prue Leith, which is the season 5, 2017 replacement for Mary Berry on the Great British Bake Off. I can't do it. I'm sorry, I can't keep them straight. So the Great British Bake Off, she's the new host. If y'all haven't seen season 5 yet, you should go and watch it. Prue's pretty cool. I know she's no Mary Berry. She's not constantly
But no one is. So
making
it's
jokes
not
about
fair.
alcohol. I love Mary Berry.
Me too.
Anyway, but Prue Leith is also a very accomplished chef. She attended
Yes.
Cordon Bleu Cookery School in 1960. And then she kind of worked as a businesswoman supplying lunches, kind of as like a catering thing.
Yes.
Then it's turned into her own business called Leith's. I hope I'm saying her name right. I know it's Prue, but Leith, I think.
Leith.
Came her own business, Leith's Good Food, which was just a big catering business.
Made good food. What do you want? It's right there in the name.
She opened her own restaurant in 1969, which has it's a Michelin-starred restaurant, which is
Heck
like
yes. It's hard for female chefs to get a Michelin
Oh,
star.
absolutely. But Prue's got it. Woo! And then in 1975, she founded Leith's School of Food and Wine. So she actually trains professional chefs.
Wow.
I know, right? She's very impressive. She actually sold it in 93, but in 95 she founded the Prue Leith College, but it's in South Africa.
Oh, that's cool.
She was also a food columnist for many magazines, newspapers, whatever. The Daily Mail, the Sunday Express, the Guardian, Daily Mirror.
Wow.
She wrote 12 cookbooks.
Not 75? Come on,
I
Prue,
know.
get it together.
But she's also written 7 novels.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean...
That's cool.
Yeah, that's a whole thing. Actually, one set of her novels is a trilogy, and it's actually been optioned for a TV series.
That's cool.
She also wrote a memoir, by the way.
gosh.
So she is
doing it all.
very prolific. She's been on TV, not only in the current Great British Bake Off, but also she was a judge on the Great British Menu. She was a judge on My Kitchen Rules. Weren't we just talking about that earlier?
Yeah. Cat Cora, I believe.
Yeah.
Or was it Anne? It was one of those. It was either Anne Burrell or Cat Cora that was on My Kitchen Rules. I think it was Cat Cora.
Anyway, so that's the extent of my little biography of Prue Leith. But another both Mary Berry and Prue are very, very prolific and very
Long
talented.
careers.
And they're connected via the Great British Bake Off.
Yes.
Anyway, we will chat more about a few more female chefs when we come back. But right now, we're going to play you in with some Paramore. Alrighty, guys, welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are the Pop Culture Feminists, and this is Studio U, voice of OU.
Get it? It's Studio U.
Yes, it is.
Get it?
You can tune in via the TuneIn app. Ho, ho, ho. Lots of jokes today. Or on our Facebook live stream, or on kxou.ou.edu.
There weren't puns in those.
I know. I'm sorry. Alrighty, so we are talking about female celebrity chefs.
Yeah.
As we do. And so far we've covered Rachael Ray, Julia Child, Mary Berry, Prue Leith, and the ones that Lily covered who all have interesting names that I can't say.
Yep. Alex Guarnaschelli, and Burrell, Cat Cora.
Yeah, never mind. I know about Cat Cora. All right.
She is the coolest name, so.
Yeah, I know. All right, Lily. Take it away with our next chef.
All right. Our next chef is not necessarily one chef, but it's a concept that I wanted to bring up here on our cooking episode. And that is the
cooking episode.
Yay. That is the television show Hell's Kitchen.
Ooh. This is not spooky. I don't know why I did that.
Well, it had the H-E-L-L word in it, so...
H-E double hockey sticks.
Yeah, I couldn't say that fast enough. But, you know, you might be going, what are you talking about? That's all about Gordon Ramsay, who is not a female chef. And I would say, yes, he is the main player on that television show. But I thought it was important to talk about kind of the culture surrounding gender and female chefs on that show, because I think it speaks a lot about who we're expecting to be in fine dining. And also I wanted to talk about one of the sous chefs on that show, so I'll start with that. You may not know, but there's a red and blue kitchen. Red is usually the ladies' kitchen, and blue is usually the boys' kitchen. And each kitchen has a sous chef to help them out, someone who Chef Ramsay has personally chosen. Ooh. So you know that those are some good chefs if Gordon Ramsay trusts them to be his sous chef. So the female sous chef for a long time was Andy Van Willigen, she's just awesome. She is just real and commanding in that show. She didn't let people in those kitchens disrespect her.
Is she saucy?
I guess so.
All right. That was that.
Did something happen?
I don't know.
Well, she is saucy, I guess you would say. She brings the lamb sauce. And there's not too much information available about Andy Van Willigen. But I wanted to bring her up because in one of the seasons of the show, they were kind of talking with her in the kitchen, and like she was talking with the female. They were having like a heart-to-heart, not necessarily, but sort of. And one of them was asking, you know, how hard is it to have a family and to be a chef like this? And she was like, it's very hard. I basically had to put everything on hold. You know, I'm not married. I don't have any children. You know, you basically have to. If you're so devoted to your career that you can't always do those things. And that's not to say everyone needs to do those things to be happy.
Or that you can't do both.
Yeah. But, she just prioritized her career, and, clearly she wanted a family and all that. So I was like, I wonder what she was up to now. And so not too long ago, I went to her Instagram, and she's married, and she has a 1-year-old son. And her whole Instagram is basically pictures of her son. She clearly really loves him, so I thought that was really good that she finally was able to feel like she could finally have a family with her career. So that was excellent. But yeah, and I also wanted to talk about the winners of Hell's Kitchen, which, believe it or not, it's pretty equitable in terms of gender, which is interesting to me because the industry is not necessarily like that. And what they're winning is essentially head chef positions in most cases, and you don't have a lot of female head or executive chefs for these fine dining restaurants. So I think it's great that, it's very equitable in terms of who wins. I don't know if, because I'm sure you pick the best person from each season. I don't believe Gordon Ramsay would rig it to be a certain gendered person, but
right.
But it's been pretty equitable. So season 2, the winner was Heather West. Season 4, Christina Moshimer. Season 7, Holly Ugaldi. Season 8, Nona Sivley. Season 10, Christina Wilson. Season 11, Janelle Witt. Season 13, Latasha McCutcheon. Season 14, Megan Gill. Season 15, Ariel Malone. And Season 16, Kimberly Ann Ryan. So, big stretch of women down there at the end. So that's good. I think that's interesting. So, actually, I said it was equitable, but it might be more women considering the women that got on a kick there. And the thing, that's great and everything, and I feel like to Gordon Ramsay, he's made a point of equally representing male and female chefs. There's always the same number of male and female chefs on that show starting out. But, if you've ever seen that show, I think it's a decent reflection of what this industry is like in terms of how it treats women, because he divides them up based on men versus women, a sort of battle of the sexes, as it were, and to foster competition. And I think it definitely gives the women a little bit of a boost, because obviously I feel myself, I'm very competitive in terms of that, having to prove yourself as a woman.
Absolutely.
But gosh, just the men on that show and the way that they get competitive about the women and the way they talk about the women chefs is just
disgusting.
It's icky. Like, I'm not gonna get beat by a bunch of girls, or I believe that men make way better chefs than women. You can't have this girl get an executive chef position, or I'm not gonna listen to this woman in my kitchen. Even people who have fought against sous chef Andy, someone handpicked by Gordon Ramsay,
right,
who has a position of power over you, you're gonna fight against her because she's a woman.
Yep. I mean, that's just how it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, and
not how it should be, but how it is at the moment anyway.
No, I feel good that usually the dudes who are all talk like that are not usually the ones that make it very far. So
yes,
just a little bit of a yes there.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's what I wanted to touch on in terms of that show.
Cool. Well, I guess I will wrap it up with Ina Garten. Born in 1948, you may or may not know her by that name, but you probably know her by the name Barefoot Contessa. Yes. Because honestly, when we were broaching this subject, I was like, who is Ina Garten? But then I was like, oh, the Barefoot Contessa. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. Which I learned so much about that. Because I was very casually familiar with the name. But, anyway, so she was born in 1948. She has no formal training, much like some of the other ones. She learned from just buying cookbooks. Actually, one of her major ones that she talks about learning from is Mastering the Art of French Cooking by Julia Child.
Right.
She did study a little bit with Martha Stewart. So there's
cool.
some personal time there. Okay, so before she was the Barefoot Contessa and had all this stuff with food, she actually worked in the White House.
What?
Under President Ford and President Carter.
Wow.
She was a budget analyst.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. She had a really important but high-stress job.
Mm-hmm.
And she basically just gave it up at kind of a spur-of-the-moment thing because she saw that this little gourmet food store called Barefoot Contessa was up for sale, and she just very spontaneously quit her job and bought that store.
That's hilarious.
And, you know, she was quoted later as saying, "My White House job was very intellectually stimulating and it was very exciting, but it just wasn't me."
Right.
Anyway, so she bought the store. It was already named Barefoot Contessa, apparently as a reference to a movie, which,
That's interesting.
I haven't seen this movie.
Nope.
Neither has Ina Garten, for that matter.
Big
Fun
mood.
fact.
She's like, no, I think it's me now.
Yeah.
I think I am the Barefoot Contessa.
Yes. But she kept the name because she thought that it went really well with her elegant but earthy lifestyle, which I
agree.
thought was cool.
I always think of someone like walking barefoot in like a vineyard.
Yes, but in like a gown.
Yeah.
It's a Contessa. Anyway, okay. So that was her gourmet store, and then she started publishing a series of books about the Barefoot Contessa. And when those started becoming popular, of course, she was picked up by... Is it Food Network that does Barefoot Contessa?
Honestly, I don't know.
It's whatever television network picked them up.
I want to say I've seen it on PBS.
Maybe it's PBS.
So
Anyway.
one of them.
So,
I'll look it up.
Very cool. And then when Martha Stewart was, you know, wrapped in all that badness, legal drama,
Yes.
people were...
Oh, no, it is on Food Network.
Okay, so yes, Barefoot Contessa on Food Network. People in the news were saying that maybe Ina Garten was the correct person to be a successor to Martha Stewart as a
Right.
food empress. Sorry, that's what I'm going to call it.
I wish I was a food empress.
Anyway, so that's her. And actually, I do want to touch really quickly on somebody else.
Really quickly.
Well, because we're running out of time a
No,
little
I
bit.
know. Yeah.
But Padma Lakshmi. She
good name.
is, yes, she is the host of Top Chef, or I think she still is. She either still is or has been for quite some time and only recently retired. I actually haven't checked lately. But, so she has, what a rough backstory.
Oh, boy.
She had a lot of trouble growing up. She was sexually assaulted at age 7. And then she was raped at age 16.
Oh, my.
I know. She just had a lot of turmoil. And then in the middle of that, you know, she grew up in LA.
Yeah.
And suffered a lot of bullying for not being white.
Right.
So, speaking of feminism, she's a huge part of the Me Too movement.
Oh, yeah.
So she's been very outspoken during all that because basically when she was assaulted at 7, she told her parents, and instead of doing something about it because it was a family friend, they sent her off to India to live with her grandparents.
Wow.
And, you know, she wrote in her article in the New York Times that the moral of that story is, you know, if you talk about it, you'll just get sent away.
Yeah.
Anyway, but another person who didn't get a degree in food, she actually got a degree in theater arts.
Wow.
And then she was a model for a while.
That's cool.
I know, right? She actually has modeled for a lot of famous designers. Armani, Versace, Ralph Lauren.
Wow.
Oh, by the way, okay, I have to make a
Yes.
correction from earlier. Sorry, guys. Sometimes I do all this research so fast that I get stories confused. But looking back at my notes, I realized that, so it was Mary Berry that had polio and was in the hospital for 3 months. But it was Padma Lakshmi who was in the hospital for something, and then 2 days after she got released, she got into a major car wreck and had to go back for some surgery.
Right.
Not Mary Berry.
Yeah, I see how you would get that confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apologies for that
I
confusion. But the reason that I realized that in my notes is because I wrote down that when she was still a model, she was a favorite model of the photographer Helmut Newton. If anyone interested in photography knows who that is. He's a very famous photographer.
Mm-hmm.
And he loved to highlight the scar on her arm that she got from that car accident.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I know. Very cool. Anyway, so she published her first cookbook. Well, actually, it's a combination of recipes and short essays.
Oh, that's cool.
In the late 90s, it was awarded the best first book at the 1999 World Cookbook Awards in Versailles. She hosted the Food Network series Padma's Passport.
Cool.
And then the series Melting Pot. She also hosted a special called Planet Food. She works for Discovery Channel as well as Food Network.
Mm-hmm.
I love the name of her second cookbook. Her first cookbook was called Easy Exotic.
Yeah.
The second one is called Tangy, Tart, Hot, and Sweet. I love
that.
And then her first memoir, was entitled Love, Loss, and What We Ate, which
that's awesome.
Love.
I care most about the last one.
Yeah, me too. And then she also published the Encyclopedia of Spices and Herbs in 2016.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, I know. So she's very huge.
I want that book.
But yes, of course, probably her most well-known role is as the host of Top Chef.
Mm-hmm.
Which she's won several awards for, actually, being the host of that show.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, she's just an all-around really cool lady. Probably her only diversity of the evening, actually.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of white chefs, but Padma Lakshmi coming in hot. Anyway,
yes.
Alrighty, y'all, we are gonna wrap it up for the evening. But don't forget to stay tuned for Lost Forgotten Oklahoma, which is coming up in just a few minutes.
Yes.
We're going to play you out with some Nikki and the Corvettes, the song Just What I Need. We'll catch you next week.
Bye.
Bye.